Cindy, may I,
Of
thank
course,
you.
yeah.
I would like to put some question to you, getting on the basis that you are a reputed scientist, a teacher, and you have specialized on chemosynthetic ecosystems. They are very special ecosystems. We know roughly about that, but when it comes to biogeography and connectivity, I would make myself more ignorant than I am in this issue and ask you, are not they all the same all over the world? Are there any differences? What can you tell us about that, please?
Sure. The chemosynthetic communities are definitely not the same all over the world. So in hydrothermal vent ecosystems, what we've discovered, I guess over the past 3 decades, 30 years or more of research, going to different ocean basins, every time we go to a new ocean basin, we find a different fauna. So it's part of what makes it fun as an explorer. And then even within regions, we find sometimes nuances, sometimes very great differences. So for instance, on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, when the Mid-Atlantic Ridge shallows, the fauna at the hydrothermal vents on the shallow part of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge are different. They have different species there than in the deeper parts of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So we're very interested in these patterns of distribution, this biogeography. It's like on land. You don't find the same plants across Europe and into Asia, and it changes also on the seabed.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And that is very much interesting on the scientific point of view. I understand these communities live in areas that for ourselves humans are inhospitable, ultra polluted, and so they are able to live in another world, and they do so quite happily. It's their own. And apart from the scientific wonder that they represent, what could be or is their use to mankind? We have those nasty attitudes of trying to find a use for something, for everything, reasoning only on use. What is the use mankind has or could have about these communities?
So the first thing that comes to my mind as a scientist is their scientific value.
Yeah.
And by that, the kinds of things I have in mind are what we learn about how animals adapt to extreme environments, what their biochemical systems are like. They have very different adaptations from what we're used to seeing on land. So we learn a lot about adaptations to extreme environments. So the scientific knowledge, the scientific benefit. Also things like the origin of life, thinking about where life might have originated on Earth, where life might exist on other planets. So there's that pure knowledge that's just tremendous, immense value. They're living libraries for us. And then there's also the idea of the value of the biochemical systems themselves for our own use, for things like pharmaceuticals, therapeutic agents, for industrial agents. These animals are adapted to high pressure, high temperature, as you said, really noxious environments that turn out to be what we use often in industrial settings. And so they may have enzymes. There's a lot of interest in these, what we call extreme enzymes, that can be used in industrial applications. So we can discover them and then synthesize them and use them for our benefit.
No, it is obviously very important. But if I am right, I think that we are still very far from getting all that information investigated in depth. So there is a future for research. We have still to go a long way to have a good scientific knowledge of those systems.
Absolutely. Right now there's very few people who study these systems, so we work as hard as we can, but we don't have all the answers. We really understand better now what's there, but we don't understand how it works. We don't understand the dynamics of the systems. We don't understand the processes and even all the services they can provide. You know, I mentioned the ones that are of monetary value, but then there are the other values to the system of what they do with nutrients and how they process nutrients and how much they contribute to outside the local area of the hydrothermal vent. Yeah, there's tons to learn.
Yeah, so they should be a priority target for research.
Absolutely.
Okay. And now about the fears. that come associated to these systems. When we hear about other activities that may be impacting them, let's say bottom fishing, some kinds of bottom fishing, or maybe even worse, correct me if I'm wrong, the idea of exploring minerals or exploiting minerals in those areas. Do you think there is an easy cohabitation of those activities, or you just have to make a choice going one way or another way based on scientific evidence? What is your scientific personal view on that, please?
I think the active hydrothermal vents, where these really luxuriant communities of animals, they're adapted to disturbance, yes, but they're very small, they're very localized, and we don't understand, I'll use the mining example. Mining, if they were to go after the minerals on which these animals live, the hard substratum, the precipitation from the hot springs, they would take away all the animals, clear cut, just wipe it out, strip mining. And what we don't know is how fast the animals will come back. And maybe they'll come back quickly, but then what we don't know is it's not going to be just one mining event, it's going to be multiple. And so how many of those could you take away? So the active vents, I think, are pretty vulnerable. They may recover quickly from one impact, one insult, but it's the multiple insults and then the other activities that might harm them. But there are inactive hydrothermal vents, and those are less. I think that's an area where mining could take place, and with good management. There's some issues there, but the animals at the inactive sulfides, so far we have very little evidence that that's a specialized community. We think those animals, while they're long-lived, would be fine on other hard substrata. So I think there's some very nice ways to think about how to protect the animals that have been such a rich source of research and knowledge for us, and you still be able to do the mining. So we're pretty optimistic, or I'm optimistic that sulfide mining could happen without damaging these hydrothermal vent ecosystems.
This is good news, I would say. It's better to have an option than thinking we have no option. Then we come for disastrous decisions. But as I understand from your answer, it relies on two preconditions. One is that we know the track record of those thermal vents. We know where they are now. But can we research or detect easily where they have been, or how can we say where those vents were in the past? Right.
There are scientists who are trying to figure that out. So develop technology that can locate the inactive sites when they're buried under sediment. But the ones we know now sit proud of the seafloor, and we find them through using sonar and systematic surveys of the ridge axis. We're not very good at it yet, but I think we really haven't tried hard. And so just in the past couple of years, it's really starting to think about how do we locate those sites. And they're probably even bigger than what we see in the active sites.
But we are not yet very good on that, but the important word is yet. We were not very good in space exploration and other things like that. And so...
and the signal, if they're not buried too deep, the signal should be present there. It's a metal resource buried by biological sediment, and so there's this great contrast in the conductivity and the magnetics, and maybe another porosity and other parameters.
It would be another source for science associated to this.
Absolutely,
It's to foster the cohabitation between eventual human use of these mineral resources and the safeguarding the biological and I would even say moral value of preserving those things. And my last question would be, how do those communities are fixed in their place? If they are always in some place, or if they migrate along some line of geological activity, because taking vents that are no longer active, you are assuming that the activity is moving on the ground. Does it's a pattern for all of the chemo vents, or is not?
Yeah, you're asking really good questions. So On the mid-Atlantic ridge, there's places like the Tag hydrothermal mound that's been there for 100,000 years or more. And then adjacent to it, kind of off-axis, are large inactive mounds. To be honest, a geologist might know, I don't know what caused the shift, whether it's over eons and the plates move, but that's a long time, so I don't think that's it. I don't know why the fluid flow shifted, earthquake activity or volcanic activity somewhere that caused the shift. So on the mid-Atlantic ridge, it takes I think it would take a major event to shut down a site and have something else open up. So on the East Pacific Rise, it's all sped up. Things happen much faster, and we have, it's called has much more volcanic activity, and the lava overruns the hot springs, and then the hot spring, the source is covered here, but the water comes up another path of least resistance and comes out in someplace else, within a kilometer or two even. And then it's only there for 10, 20 years, and then before another eruption happens or an earthquake that shifts everything around or gets clogged. So it depends on the setting.
No, it's very important to know that, and I think we really need to put forward the importance of scientific studies on this area, because otherwise we are leaving the way open to hasty political decisions, even in the best faith, in the best willingness to provide resources to citizens and so, but we must have good research and an independent picture about the value and the evolution of the whole thing, so that those that have the power to decide really decide what they think is best for their own people and also for mankind. It's very important to have that view. Would you agree with me? Or
absolutely, and it works both ways. The science and the researchers will go off into our cloud and do the science that we're curious about, but it also helps to work with the manager, with governance, to understand what's needed there, because often the interesting science overlaps with what's needed for management, and so working together is also really important.
It's the way forward.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for your willingness and your expertise, which is very much prized around this table.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.